Hello, hello, and welcome to Bla Bla Black Sheep, a weekly podcast where I share all things yarny and answer your questions. This is episode number 3. I am Sarah Korth of SEK Handmade, and I am so excited that you are here with me. I can't wait to chat with you today about what's going on in the world of yarn in my life and answer your questions. If you have a question, I would love to answer it. So in the description box below, there's all sorts of information, but there is a form for you to put your question in that helps me stay organized so that I can read through all the questions and pick a few to answer each week. All right. The first thing I want to share with you is I really believe in the power of positivity. I am not a an exclusively positive person. If you know me personally, you know I am sarcastic. If you have followed me on Instagram, you know that I'm real. I don't like to pretend like everything's flowery and wonderful and perfect all the time, but I do find that focusing on things that I'm grateful for and that bring me joy help me to stay more positive in my life and less grumpy with the people around me, which I think is just a positive for everyone. So I want to start off today with something that is bringing me joy. And I'll be honest with you, I'm tired, friends. The little one has been getting me up at night pretty consistently. He has a little bit of a cold. I think that's what it is. And whew, all the coffee. And so in my exhaustion, it was a little harder this week to come up with something that was bringing me joy. But I thought of something and I was like, yes, that brought me so much joy. Okay. So I was working on a new design on Saturday. And on Saturdays, I try not to do any of the computery, tasky sorts of things of my business. I try to leave it to time to the family, but I do play with yarn because that's a good time for me to be creative and pick something up and work a few stitches or try to figure something out, walk away and do something with the boys or plain something. So on Saturday, I was making this a very long story. On Saturday, I was playing with some yarn. I had a vision of what I wanted for a cowl that I wanted to design. But it was a bit of a puzzle for me. I knew it could work, but I was struggling. I tried something that didn't look right. I tried something else and I was like, nope, that's not it either. But I am so thrilled and it's bringing me so much joy that not only did I figure out my problem and come up, start making the design that I wanted, and it's looking amazing. But the thing that is really bringing me joy is that I took this thing that I was struggling with and I figured out how to break it down into some pieces so that I can teach it to people, teach it to you in a way that is easy and foolproof. And that, my friends, that is what brings me joy, is not just doing the thing, but coming up with a really great way to teach it so that you can feel the success and joy and triumph that I felt this weekend when I got going. It was working. Made me so happy. So, yay. Very excited. So look for that coming in the future. When it releases, I'll let you know that this was the thing. I think you'll notice because it's a bit of an unusual design. So let me share with you what I am wearing currently. This is my Cordelia Shawl. It is, I'll put a picture up, but it's rectangle. That's the word I'm looking for. It's a rectangle shawl. I love rectangle shawls for this time of year because I can feel all springy and lacy and still wrap it around several times like a scarf because it's really stinking cold outside still. We got more snow. Some of the snowbanks by our like our garage and out by the street where the snowplow comes by are almost as tall as I am. That's how much snow we have. I'm not very tall, but still, that's like 5 feet of snow piled up. It's quite a bit. Oh my gosh, the boys are having so much fun with it though. They have actually dug out. Usually they build a fort that's like a wall, like a castle kind of, and they stand behind it and throw snowballs and stuff. But this time the pile was so big that they decided instead to dig it out, and they've made 2 little dens for themselves inside the snowbank. I'll put a picture up. So much fun. So I'm wearing my Cordelia shawl, which I love. It's got a real pretty stitch pattern. And then I'm wearing my first bud earrings. These are both patterns of mine. And I think it goes so well with, oh, it's not gonna, I think it goes so well with the shawl because it's got those pretty little puff stitches too. So I will link those down below as well so that you can find them. I apologize, I gave Weston a treat. I don't know if you can hear him very noisily drinking water. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that's what I'm wearing. Last episode, if you watched, then you know what's in this bag. This is my Lilac Cardigan by Bonnie of Woodland Stitchcraft. And last week, I said I want to show you this because I need some accountability, and it's working because I left, I did nothing on it until yesterday when I was like, oh no, I need to have some progress to share. The progress is not exciting though. What I did was this. I frogged the section that was too wide, and I'm back to my old tension. So what I need to do, oh gosh, you guys, I probably frogged a good, oh, are you stuck? Just a second. I probably frogged a good 5 inches of my shawl, or cardigan. Careful, careful. I've got all sorts of stuff set up here, and poor Weston, he's like, what are you doing, Mom? I probably frogged about 5 or 6 inches of the cardigan. The body of the cardigan is worked bottom up, so I have a lot more to go back to, but it was too wide, and I strongly believe if you, excuse you, I strongly believe better to go back now and have it fit really nicely and really love wearing it all the time than to not and always wish I had. So you can't drink my coffee. No, thank you. So I did it. I appreciate the accountability. I frogged it. And so now it's time to move forward. So hopefully next week I can show you some progress moving forward. Hey, why don't you sit and lay down here instead of tipping everything over potentially. So that's where I'm at with my Lilac Cardigan. Thank you for the accountability. I want to share with you, no, I don't think this is going to work. I need you to get down. I want to share with you also my mug. This is one of my favorites. What'd you think? This mug is by Earth Love by Tany. If you see this and you know me, I mean, look, it matches my curtains. This is like one of my most favorite colors. I try to get lots of stuff in this. So when I saw this mug, I was like, yes, please. No, thank you. You need to sit. Sit. And it makes me happy every time I drink out of it. It's very nice. So then, okay, I'm going to try to make this a quick story. So my friend Fatima dyes yarn, and she posted a picture on her Instagram feed, and I was like, oh, what's that yarn? I need it. And then when I ordered it, she was like, I knew you would see those and love them. So I wanted to open my package of Fatima yarn with you. and show you what I got. Fatima's company, yarn dyeing company, is called Aquarius Make. I will link Earth Love with Tany and Aquarius Make in the description, the show notes below, so that you can go shop them. I think I bought Fatima out of one of these colors, but we'll see. You'll have to go look. So this is what I got. I got this beautiful purple color, is a one-of-a-kind color. I'm going to take them out of here because it's probably making a lot of noise, huh? Real quick. Sorry, that's probably obnoxious. Okay, so this purple is a one-of-a-kind color, and she was like, I knew you'd like that, which I do. I love it. I think she had 2 of them, and I only bought 1, so there might be one of these left. It's gorgeousness. And then I bought 2 of this darker color. I was honestly thinking that all of these that I bought might make a nice shawl. So this color is like really dark gray with some kind of blue gray and purple in there, which I thought would be really pretty. And then this light gray that actually matches the blue gray like this is real close to that. So I think that's a great match. Always a little challenging to do when you're ordering things on a computer because, you know, everybody's screen is different. And then Fatima sent me just a little mini skein as a nice little gift because she's so sweet. And it actually, of course she didn't just willy-nilly send it. She sent it because it goes with my other stuff. So that's a little mini skein. Oh, let me tell you, the black and purple, like the dark gray, that is one of a kind, which is okay because I bought all of it, so you can't have it anyways. And then this, they were all one of a kind. This is a one of a kind. I think there might have been 1 left. So, but you could make something really pretty with those 2. But then this, Fatima did a set inspired by the Wednesday TV show, which if you have not watched, highly recommend. When Brian was like, there's this show Wednesday, I was like, I don't know, but very good. Highly recommend. And so this is Enid. So that's her from one of her collections. And then she always sends a little gift bag, a nice note with instructions and saying thank you. That's her, oh my gosh, logo, which I love. And then she always sends a nice little package with wash to wash your, you know, project in that you make with the yarn. And then some chocolate, yum. Surprised I haven't eaten that yet. And then a little stitch marker. Oh. How cute is that? It's like a little floral, black and white. Very pretty, very pretty. So that's fun. Okay. Quick announcement. What am I even saying? I wanted to let you know that I am going to be doing a Meet the Maker, I believe next week, if I have dates right, with Cornbread and Honey. I shared some of her yarn on episode number 1, if you want to go back and watch that. But Tanya of Cornbread and Honey is a marvelous yarn dyer and just great person. And so I can't wait to get to know her better and have you get to know her better. And so we're doing a Meet the Maker interview Tuesday, March 21st at 10 o'clock a.m. CST. If you want to join us live, I believe if you subscribe here on YouTube, it'll let you know. And if that time has passed, go to my Meet the Maker playlist is the word I'm looking for. And it'll be in there. I will, again, link in the description, the show notes below. So, very excited about that. I have been on a big shawl kick, and we're going to do a fun event soon, so come back next week for that announcement. But I've made 2 shawls, and I'm going to make a third, and I wound up my yarn for it, and I'm so pleased with this color combination. And if you have seen my last couple color combinations and been like, those are some bold color choices, this is a little more subtle, so this one's for you. But I got this yarn when someone was destashing yarn. So I actually bought it from a yarn dyer, but it's not her yarn. She was destashing yarn she had. So I got a really good deal on it, which I love. And as I was looking through, she had these 3 skeins that were all from the same dyer. And I thought, well, those are more likely to go together. And so, let's see. I'm going to do like a little fade. The shawl is going to start off with this colorway, which is lighter, but it's got lots of kind of berry tones in it and some speckles of like the pinky red and blue and green. And then the next color is going to be this guy, which is just a really gorgeous variegated. It goes a little darker, but has the same kind of tones in it. It's very gorgeousness. And then the third color is going to be this guy. It's a solid, and it's just a really pretty kind of eggplanty purple. And so this is the 3 of them together. I think they're going to go gorgeously together. And it's going to be a rectangle shawl, and so it's going to start here and end here and be worked lengthwise. So more to come on that in the future. I hope you love it. I'm very excited to start working it up. Oh, let me tell you. Let me tell you what these are. I brought the tags over so that I could show you. Okay, so this is Miss Babs, and it says inspired by nature. And the first one is called Autumn Toad Lily. So this one, Autumn Toad Lily. Again, this was a destash from someone, so I don't know if these colorways will be available, but I will link to Miss Babs' website down below so that you can shop if you'd like, if she's still doing her thing. So I thought this was so funny because, so this one is called Autumn Toad Lily. The solid color is called Japanese Maple, which, if you know what a Japanese maple looks like, this is a great representation of Japanese maple. And so I thought this last name was funny because her tagline is inspired by nature. And those 2 are very naturey colors. You want to guess what this one is? It's called Zombie Prom. Which I love the name, but not nature. Which, I thought that was funny. So there's my little stack. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. Let's do a couple questions here. Again, if you want to have your questions answered, there is a link in the show notes below. Please fill out the form. It literally just says, oh, like, what's your question? And you just type it in there, and I'll answer it on a podcast one of these days. It'll be great. Okay. Question number 1. When you purchase a yarn that you have no pattern for, what weight do you tend to purchase? Is there a weight that tends to be good for, sorry, typos. When I transfer these over, sometimes my tablet likes to just like change the words to what it thinks it should be. Sorry. Is there a weight that tends to be good for a variety of projects? So, great questions. I often buy yarn with no project in mind. I feel a great sense of remorse if I see a yarn that I really, really love and I walk away from it. If it's at my local yarn shop and I look at it and walk away and then think, I would be so sad if that all got purchased, I usually go back and buy it even if I don't have a project. If I can afford it, I want to encourage people to go outside their budget. But But I'll be honest with you. Actually, if you look at my yarn shelf, which you can look, my Meet the Maker videos, I sit in front of my yarn shelf, so you can kind of gaze at my collection there. The majority of that is fingering weight. What is sitting behind me? I tend to lean towards buying fingering weight. Originally, I think I leaned towards buying fingering weight because I felt like I got the most bang for my buck. You know, when you buy a fingering weight hand-dyed yarn, you usually get around 400 yards, and for every weight category you go larger, you get fewer and fewer yards, which is just the nature of yarn and hand-dyed yarn. And so both, I felt like I was getting a lot of yardage for the purchase. And I really like, if you've ever gone to a dyer and they've had like a colorway, and then they show it in all the bases that they have, depending on the weight of the yarn, the dye can land a little differently. And that's not like the dyer's not talented enough or whatever, but like when you've got different surface area for the yarn to be absorbed on, it just lies a little differently. And I tend to like the visual of how hand dye, like speckles and stuff, lands on a fingering weight yarn. And one of the things that I really love to make are shawls. And shawls tend to have or can have multiple skeins in them, and are usually good for mixing and matching skeins. So even if I'm buying just one of a colorway I really love, in a shawl, it's going to be easier to mix and match with other things I maybe already have in my stash, or to then pick out something complementary to go with it in the future. So I tend to choose fingering weight yarn. Do I recommend that you also choose fingering weight yarn? No. And here's why. If you are a person who never uses fingering weight yarn, why would you buy fingering weight yarn? So here are my tips for how I think you should choose yarn if you are picking a yarn that you don't have a project for. A1-3. I don't know. You should choose what you make with the most. If you are a person who makes lots of worsted weight projects, buy it in worsted weight yarn. If you are a person who loves a super bulky, buy a super bulky. So think about what you make with most. It is super tempting to look at that fingering weight yarn and say, oh, that's so gorgeous. But what good is it if it's going to sit on your shelf for years? Now, I have had yarn sit on my shelf for years for various reasons, because I don't have a project for it and the right project hasn't come along yet. But I know everything currently in my stash is stuff that I would use and have used the yarn weight before. So if you're like a very newbie crocheter and you've never worked with fingering weight yarn, and you aren't like excited to give it a try, don't get fingering weight yarn. Get worsted or whatever, DK, if you want like an in-between, not quite worsted but not quite fingering. Go with something that you know you'll be comfortable with working. And then sorry, I'm looking at my notes and it auto-corrected something again. I wasn't sure what I meant by that. And then think about what you have at home. Think if you might have something that would go with it at home, even if what you're buying might not make a whole project. If you have other things at home that it could go with, then then that's probably a good purchase that you're probably going to use. And then I would say, go to your Ravelry favorites section, which if you are not utilizing your Ravelry favorite section, you should be. All you have to do, I'll maybe put some screenshots up, or maybe I'll make a tutorial video and post it. Or maybe I'll do both. But when you see a pattern that you love, if it is on Ravelry, you can heart it and put it in your favorites. And then when you're at a yarn shop, and you're like, oh, I really love this yarn, but I don't know what I'm going to use it for, you can go back to those patterns. You don't have to keep all those in your brain, because I have limited memory space. I need it for other things. But you can go back through then and say, oh, here's some worsted weight yarn. What patterns did I love, even if I haven't purchased them yet? You can go through your library too, look at the patterns you have purchased but haven't made yet, or maybe you've purchased and made, and it'll like jog your memory of like, oh, I loved that hat so much, and this would be a great yarn to remake that hat. So go to Ravelry, go to your favorites, go to your library, and look at what you have made or were interested in making, and maybe you'll come up with a match. But I am very pro going ahead and buying the yarn, even if you don't have a project. I know there are some people who keep very small stashes, yarn stashes, and only purchase when they have an exact project that they know they're going to make with it. And that is totally fine if that is you. But I say, go for it if you find something you love. The other thing I'm a super big fan of is having memories tied into your projects. So one of the shawls that I finished is made with yarn that I purchased when I was on a trip to Chicago with some of my very best girlfriends who I had never met in person before. This was our first time meeting in person. We had a wonderful weekend, and I purchased this yarn while we were there. And now every time I wear that shawl, I think of the amazing time we had and these wonderful friends that I have. And so if you can purchase yarn when you're on a trip and have that memory connected to it, it's so special. So I am enabling you by the yarn. All right. Second question. I saw a while back that Hat Not Hate is no more. So Hat Not Hate was a charity, kind of, run by Lion Brand and Shira, who is one of the Lion Brand family members. And it was an anti-bullying campaign, and they encouraged people to make blue hats, which is the color of anti-bullying. And then you sent the hats to them. They distributed them to some schools and did kind of an anti-bullying campaign through that. A few months ago, I don't remember the timing exactly, they announced that the whole thing had moved beyond an event, and that they were not going to be organizing a specific event anymore. So that's what Hat Not Hate was, for some context. So the question asker says, I used to make hats year round and donate them to Hat Not Hate, I assume. I don't want to stop making for charity. Do you have any suggestions of where I can donate hats? So I feel ya. It's so wonderful to be able to use your craft to give a handmade item to someone. And I feel your pain that if this was a habit in your life, something, a ritual almost, to make hats and donate to this, to have this gone, can be disappointing. I totally understand that. So this is a great question. Here is what I would encourage. You're gonna have to do a little research. It's lovely to just have somebody else do all the organizing and you just be able to, like, I send them to this one place and ta-da, I've done my thing. But there's a lot of good that you can do locally, but it's going to take some researching. The good news is, I feel like the pandemic hit and we didn't know how coronavirus spread. And a lot of charities like, we don't want to be spreading by accepting donations. So a lot of people stopped accepting donations. But now that we have a better understanding, I feel like a lot of places are accepting donations again. So hopefully you will have some success finding some local places that will accept donations. So here are my suggestions. Look locally at homeless shelters, battered women's shelters, and hospitals. Also, if you have a local yarn shop, sometimes they will organize that. I know when I lived in Ohio, I don't know if it was continuous. I kind of think it was. They collected hats for cancer patients, and then you just drop them off at the yarn shop and they delivered them. But there might be a cancer center that nearby you that might accept donations for that. And another charity opportunity, hat charity specifically, hat making, that has gone by the wayside is the American Heart Association used to accept baby hats for heart awareness, and they would give them out to babies that were born in hospitals in the month of February, I think it was. I believe I saw that has stopped, that they were finding out that those hats were actually too warm for the newborns and were kind of causing some problems. So, but you may have a hospital that accepts handmade hats. They may not actually, they may just like gift them to the families that have babies, or, but I want to say, contact these places and find out what they need. Your donation will have the most impact if it is going somewhere that appreciates it and has a use for it. If they don't have people coming in that need hats, it doesn't do a lot of good. Now, if you are a person who maybe lives in a warm climate and hats aren't something that's really necessary locally, you could reach out to a local place, say up north in Wisconsin, and see, not Wisconsin specifically, but a more northern location. And if you're willing to mail them, you're definitely going to want to make sure that they need them before you put in all that time and energy and then the cost of mailing them. So that's some suggestions for hats. But I also want to encourage you to think outside the box of hat donating. When we lived in Ohio, I helped facilitate a yarn group. We knit and crocheted, and we did things for charity. It actually started with the American Heart Association, little hats for babies, and then we did scarves and hats for a local shelter. We did there were some super generous ladies who made baby blankets, and then babies who were baptized at the church got a handmade blanket, which was so sweet. And then the last place before I ended up moving away that we connected with, that I would not have thought of, but it was the perfect match for us, was we connected with a local hospice center, and what they needed were small blankets. Uh, they were looking for like throw size to go on the bottom of beds of people who were there for hospice care. They found that people were really comforted by being gifted a handmade item like that, and then the families uh, really really appreciated the handmade item would be gifted to the family then after the person passed away. So it had a lot of meaning. And then the other thing that they needed, if that size of a blanket is a little daunting for you, the other thing that they needed were lap blankets. And this would be great to donate to nursing homes as well. And these are just very small blankets that just, you can't see my legs. They just cover a person's lap, hence the name lap blanket. They don't go all the way down. And these are great for people who are in wheelchairs because they keep them warm and cozy without getting tangled in the wheels of the wheelchair. So, and we found those to be incredibly doable projects because they were, you know, they needed to be about 2 feet by, I don't know, 2.5 feet by 1.5 feet. I don't know. Real helpful there, Sarah. But that was a really great way to make for charity that we knew was being appreciated. That was a project that was just the right size for our group and our ability levels and our ability to take on, you know, a size of project. So those are my tips for donating. I'm almost positive I have a blog post on this and maybe even another YouTube video. So check out the description and the show notes. I will put all the links in there when I gather them up. So thank you so much for joining me today. It was wonderful to chit chat with you. Do all the YouTubey things, subscribe, like, turn on notifications, and then you'll never miss out. There's also a link to my newsletter in the show notes below. And so if you want to always be in the loop, that's the best way to do it. So thank you again for joining me and happy crafting.